This man has not one, but 2 Super Bowl rings. He also has not 1, not 2, not 3, probably like 5 different Giants shows that he anchors or is the brilliant mind behind right here on MSG Network. So make sure you check all of those out. He is the one and only David Diehl. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Monica. Good morning, Kaz. Happy Friday. How you guys doing?
Doing good, man. It's a happy Friday. It's Friday the 13th. I'm going to stay away from any ladders or any black cats. I'm going to, try and enjoy it, man. What about yourself, brother?
Everything's good. Getting ready for a great weekend of football, and we'll see if anybody wants to win the NFC East this weekend.
Okay, so before we jump into the Giants matchup this weekend with the Eagles, Kaz and I, you just heard, we had to wake up or snooze. Couple football things we want to run by you. The Cincinnati Bengals hand the Steelers their first loss. Wake up or snooze, David?
I'm snoozing on that one. I know that this is a great storyline, and obviously it's the first time in Pittsburgh Steelers history they started 8-0. But when you look at this matchup, yeah, it's great to see the way that Joe Burrow played this season, but his offensive line is absolutely atrocious. And this is not the matchup that you want with a team that right now in the Pittsburgh Steelers have the best front seven that can rotate. This season, it's going to be down the road, whether it's the Ravens, the Colts game, or when they play the Browns again. I think that's when that loss comes in.
Okay, fair enough. And really quickly, Ravens, Lamar Jackson obviously making headlines. What do you make of his frustrations with the Ravens offense?
Well, if you think the defense knows what play you're calling, change the play. I mean, that's what people do. That's what the defensive side of the ball does. You're responsible. You're the quarterback who has the ball in his hands every single play of that game. If you hear them calling out the play, check to a play. So in that regard, I think this shows you more that Lamar Jackson doesn't have command of the offense more than it is the defense knowing what you do. You have game film. That's what defensive coordinators and defenses do. They break down your tendencies, and you know that they're going to force Lamar Jackson into the pocket and not let him use his legs. So if you think that they're calling out your plays, it's up to you as the quarterback to change it.
Now, David, I'm going to switch gears a little bit, and I'm going to forgive you for showing off that ring and just, rubbing it in my face as a Jets fan.
Well, Kaz, I had to pick which one I wanted to wear, Kaz. That's a good problem to have.
Must be nice, Dave. Must be nice. All right. But anyway, let's get to some serious business. All right. This week, NFC East rivalry, the Giants and the Eagles. Like we said in the top of the segment, we don't know if any of these teams will want to win the division. But what is the vibe around the Giants facility right now? I mean, they've been playing pretty hard, but obviously the record hasn't shown it as well. What are your thoughts on the vibe going into this game?
I think that you're finally starting to see the progress in this team ascending the way that they should. You think about they played this past week, the Washington football team. That is a team that they played before this in this season. You look at the Philadelphia Eagles. Once again, that's a team that is very familiar that they just played 4 weeks ago. So I think this game and post-bye week is truly when we're going to be able to evaluate not only this football team and where they're going, because during that bye week, that's when self-scouting takes place. What we do well, what we don't do well, and they will give each individual player a sheet on what they need to correct moving forward, not only to play their best, but to win football games. That's when I truly think that we're going to be able to evaluate Daniel Jones because of the familiarity of these past two teams. And then post-bye, how does he respond when they make the adjustments to this offense? Because I think that's what we're all waiting to see.
All right, David, you teed it up. The next question was Daniel Jones. So far this season, if you were getting ready to give that evaluation, what have you liked? What do you still want to see improvement regarding?
Well, obviously, Daniel Jones, we know, can make all the throws. He's athletic. He's the top rusher on the Giants football team. But we know that the corrections that he needs to make, number one, decision-making and knowing what circumstance you're in. When you go back to that game up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you're up in that game, and it's second down. There's no point to throw a careless football out there when you can live for third down. It's much different than when you're in the 49ers game and when you're playing from behind. And the other thing that he needs to continue to work on is his pocket presence. That timing in his head is something that has to go off especially in this game this weekend up against the Philadelphia Eagles, because the one thing at the quarterback position you can do is make the game time adjustments and don't let the defensive line be the ones affecting the football game.
Now, David, obviously the Giants have went through a lot of changes, and probably one of the biggest changes this season is the emergence of Joe Judge as the head coach. Obviously, they're playing hard, but the record isn't really showing it. What are your thoughts on Joe Judge at the helm of this Giants franchise so far?
I think he's a tremendous coach, and I think the Giants finally got the head coaching decision right. I think the way that he handled the Golden Tate situation goes to show you, like, right from the get-go, what he said in his press conference. Nobody's coming in here with an agenda. Our agenda is to win football games and get back to the championship culture. So I think that he's got a great relationship with the players. I think the coaching staff, offensively and defensively, are the best that have been in the building in a long time, teaching the techniques and fundamentals that make a difference between winning and losing football games. And I love the relationship that he has with players. Going back to the time where he was at Alabama, I love the Bear Bryant quote. Coach the hell out of him and hug him later. He is as tough and as disciplined as you could be on the field, just like Coach Coughlin was with us. But once you get off of the field, he's a coach that's smiling, has an interaction, knows about players' families, their kids, their background. So that's something that allows you to do that, especially when you have a young demographic and a football team in the roster like the Giants have.
Ooh, a Coach Coughlin comparison. I'm sure Giants fans like the sound of that. All right, Diehl. So big picture, though. Big picture in the league, we've got expanded playoffs this year already in play, but potentially another layer of expansion depending on how the schedule shakes out in regards to these COVID cases. What are your thoughts on that?
I hate it. I absolutely hate this. We've already made the adjustment from 12 to 14, which I was fine with, which sets up only the division winners of the NFC and the AFC with the best records get the bye. And the problem with this that I see is obviously they're going to want to make adjustments if they lose games, but it's for the financial aspect. It's not for the quality of the playoffs. And I always say in this NFL season and getting to the playoffs, you have to earn and deserve that right. That's not something that gets handed to you. And the cream always rises to the top at the end of the season. That's something that we all know. So in regards to the parity and the competition, that's one thing that I wouldn't like. And the other thing, in regards to the NBA, Major League Baseball, NFL, we know that if you give them an inch, they're going to take 12 feet. So now all of a sudden, if they're getting all the money coming back from these extra games, the odds are they're not going to turn it back to go back to 14. They're going to want to calculate this to where they get the most amount of money.
I hear that. That's absolutely a point to definitely hold on to. Now, obviously, David Diehl, it's Friday the 13th. I've been avoiding walking under ladders and avoiding black cats and, making sure I got my rabbit's foot on me. And I hear you're an extremely superstitious person. You're very attentive to detail. So, Dave, I would love to know some of your favorite superstitions and what do you do to get ready for certain things. I got my own.
I was beyond superstitious. I was super superstitious when it came to game time. I never wanted to be in a rush. I like to take my time, and I'd like to be ready for the game. Eli Manning and I were always the first two in the locker room. I had my specific tape time. I had my specific stretch time. I had my specific time on the field where I wanted to warm up. I had my playlist calculated to a T, which all the songs that I wanted to get ready for that game. And I'll tell you this, when it came time to players, if there was rookies or anybody up there, when it came time to tape my ankles, I was a vet. I earned the right to push people off the table and get my ankles taped. So I always had that set up. And then the last thing that I would always do before entering the field, my father passed away my first start as a rookie during the preseason of 2003 when I broke into the lineup. So my last thing that I would do to get me ready for the game was before every time we'd go out, I'd have the equipment manager put JAD, my dad's initials, on my gloves before running out there to pay tribute to him.
That is a super special deal. Thanks for sharing that with us. Now, we love games in the morning because that's how you wake it up and get it going. Yep. So we've got a little superstitious game for you. It's called Good Luck, Bad Luck. Okay. All right, so I'm going to toss out a couple of things. You're going to let me know whether they're good luck or bad luck. First one seems pretty easy, but let's just double check. The number 66. Good luck or bad luck?
Oh, that's good luck unless you're playing craps and then you're playing boxcars. That's the one thing you don't want to do. But for me, 66 is always a good number. And you know what's the craziest thing about being superstitious? The number 66 shows up all the time for me, my daughter, any of my family members. I go to check out with gas, 4266. I go to the grocery store, 1366. It's crazy how the number always shows up. I was driving yesterday in the car with my daughter Addison. She goes, oh, look at the license plate, D66. So it's crazy that it always shows up. So it's good luck for me.
I've got the same sort of thing with the number 12 and 21. I see them all the time. Those are my power numbers. Okay, definitely. Playing in Philadelphia.
I don't have a number.
Playing in
I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do. You
Philadelphia.
got to pay attention.
Yeah, playing in Philadelphia, bad luck. I can't stand the link. I can't stand Philadelphia. You know, as a road team, I'll never forget any road trip that we would take, whether we bus to Philadelphia or we flew. I would always get out and stretch and take a walk in the city and just kind of experience it instead of sitting in the hotel room. I did it in every city. In my rookie year, I did it in Philadelphia. When I came back my second season in 2004 and went to walk, Eagles fans noticed who I was. I had 6 Eagles fans follow me when I was walking, just chirping and talking trash in my ear. So Philadelphia was the only city that I could not walk around and get my workout in and get some fresh air. Not to mention, anytime I think about Philadelphia, I think about either the David Akers double doink that knocked us out of the playoffs in 06 when he hit the right upright, or I think about seeing more birds given to our bus than Eagles and birds in the stadium.